Hello and welcome to a discussion of CAT 2021 Slot 2 paper. In this video, we are going to discuss the VA questions. There were 8 VA questions in the exam this year, out of which 3 questions were of the parajumbles variety. The parajumbles this year were fairly doable, less time consuming, and they should have been picked while doing the paper. There was no comprehension challenge in the question. The sentences could have been understood very easily, and the logical structure is also very simple. So let's start unjumbling the first parajumble that we have. So when we scan the passage very hurriedly, we get an idea that this is talking about some kind of rethinking of a policy or reconstituting of a vision. And the passage also gives an opinion that we are at a very crucial point. We have to make a significant decision in terms of how we plan our development, right? How the development has to be visualized and how it has to be practiced. There has to be a change that has to be brought about. So this is the backdrop of this passage. This backdrop can be understood if we scan the passage very hurriedly. Now let's start arranging the sentences. So when we go for finding the opening of the passage, we start reading the first sentence. But today there is an epochal challenge to rethink and reconstitute the vision. The vision has to be stated somewhere. The sentence starts with but, so there is a connector. This gives us an idea that there is something that has been talked about, right? And then we are developing a contradiction here. So this is not very likely to be your opening sentence. Let's keep it aside. The second sentence says, we are at a crossroads now in our vision and practice of development. So this is a very simple sentence, very general sentence. This has got no pointer. This sounds like an introductory statement. So this introduces the idea that we are at a crucial point. We have to make a decision. We have to rethink about some certain things. So this can be the opening sentence of the passage. The third statement says, this calls for the cultivation of an appropriate ethical mode. So when we introduce a sentence like this, first of all, there is a pointer. If there is a pointer, that means there has to be some reference that it is making, right? And this calls for the cultivation. That means there is some goal that we have set, that there is something that we want to achieve, and the approach is specified in this particular sentence. So again, this has to follow something. This cannot be your opening sentence. The fourth sentence reads, half a century ago, development began as a hope for a better human possibility. But in the last 50 years, this hope has lost itself because the application has become hegemonic, right? So what began as a better human possibility, a prospect for a better human possibility, has now been caught in the quest for power, right? It is being applied. Whatever development we are achieving is being applied to establish authority, right? So this is possibly the approach. This is possibly something that has to be rethought, right? That has to be rethought or rethought about or reconstituted. This vision has to be reconstituted, and this is the challenge that is mentioned in this particular line, because there is no other sentence which can talk about any challenge. So this is how development has been for last 50 years, right? But today we have to reconstitute this vision or this practice. And how we have to reconstitute this vision or practice? By introducing an idea of shared responsibility, right? It cannot be the developed countries giving to developing countries, and in that process they are establishing their own hegemony. It has to be a shared responsibility. So 4 and 1, this is the link, right? 4 and 1 is the link. 4 and 1 together, they serve the purpose of explaining this idea, right? Why does the author say that we are at a crossroads? We have to make a prominent decision, a significant decision. The explanation comes in 4 and 1 together, right? So that is how we will proceed. 2 is a very general statement. From 2 we will go to 4. 4 is immediately followed by 1, because 4 and 1 are very closely related ideas. And then since it is stated in first statement that we need to rethink our policy, we need to reconstitute our vision. This reconstituting or rethinking of the policy calls for the cultivation of an appropriate ethical model. So this is the course of action, right? This suggests the course of action. So this will be the last sentence which will wind up the idea. So your final answer will be 2, 4, 1, 3. That is how this parajumble could have been solved in the exam. Okay, so let's move on to the next. So the second parajumble is as easy as the previous one. When we scan the passage, let's scan the passage quickly so that we are able to properly sequence the sentences. So when we scan the passage, we realize that so the second parajumble is as easy as the first one. In order to properly sequence the sentences, let's scan the passage very hurriedly. When we scan the sentences, right, we realize that this is about Canada and the US having two different standpoints on whether a permission is required to pass the Northwest Passage route, right, on the Arctic Ocean. So Canada maintains that every other country, since they have officially acquired the passage, right, every other country or all the ship routes should be monitored by them, right, whereas US says that it's an international state and their military vessels should not be required to take any permission from Canada. So there is no official agreement, right, there is no accord that they have reached, but then they've maintained that arrangement where US needs to seek Canada's consent, right? This is the backdrop of the passage. Let's see, when we read sentence 1, it says the US has long maintained that the Northwest Passage is an international strait through which its commercial and military vessels have the right to pass without seeking Canada's permission, right? Without seeking Canada's permission. So if this part is to be considered, then there has to be something in the passage, right? If at all there is something in the passage that makes a context for this. Why is the US required to seek Canada's permission when its vessels pass through this passage, right? That comes in the second sentence. So you cannot start with first one, though it is a complete sentence otherwise, but the context is given in the second one. So second sentence says that Canada, which officially acquired the group of islands forming the Northwest Passage in 1880, claims sovereignty over all the shipping routes through the passage. So unless we have mentioned that Canada claims sovereignty over all the shipping routes through the passage, we do not have the context to say or to mention that US does not agree to that sovereignty, right? US does not think that its vessels should take Canada's permission. So the context for this permission comes from 2. So it cannot be 1 and then 2, it has to be 2 and then 1. So these are two different standpoints, one for Canada and one for the US, related to whether a permission should be sought when the vessels pass that passage. So this has to be a link, right? Then this third sentence talks about the dispute. So let's assume that we've already talked about the dispute, right? So this cannot be your opening sentence. This also has a however, right? That means this has some contradiction being developed, right, with something that has already been talked about. So let's keep it aside. Then fourth sentence says the US and Canada have never legally settled the question. What question? When Canada maintains that a permission should be taken and the US thinks that no permission is required. This question has antecedent in 2 and 1 together, right? This question has never been settled. There is a difference of opinion, but for all practical purposes, they settled into an agreement where the US seeks Canada's consent for any transit. Okay, but the dispute is still there. Since reluctantly they've come to that arrangement, they've never settled the question probably, and that's why the dispute. So fourth will be followed by third. The link was 2 and 1. This was the order, right? 2, which talks about Canada's sovereignty, then 1, which talks about the US's objection, then fourth, which says that the question was never settled and it was just a superficial agreement that they struck, right, for the practical purposes. And then the third one, which says the dispute could be transitory. Transitory means temporary. So why the dispute will be transitory? Because very soon there will be no ice on the Arctic, and that's why there will be no passage, and that's why the entire purpose or entire compulsion of seeking a permission to pass through the passage will be totally redundant, right? Will be done away with. So this is your last idea, because this makes the entire dispute totally insignificant, because there will be a time when no permission will be required, because there will be no passage to claim sovereignty over. So this is the final answer, 2143. I hope the explanation is clear to all of you. Let's move on to the next parajumble. So when we scan the passage, we know, right, as always, we will scan the passage and we know that this has the backdrop of inventing the modern scientific method, right? And the author gives the opinion that the discovery of the modern scientific method is the best thing that has happened. It's the uber invention. So let's start reading the sentences. The first one says, look forward a few decades to an invention which can end the energy crisis, change the global economy and curb climate change at a stroke. And that invention is commercial fusion power. Okay, so when we read this part, look forward a few decades, right, to an invention which can end the energy crisis, we know that we have some point of reference. Look forward a few decades from when? That is some point of reference that is being given. So this cannot be your opening sentence, because there is something else that goes before this. Right? The second sentence says, to gain meaningful insights, logic has to be accompanied by asking probing questions. So in this sentence, we are being advised to ask probing questions through controlled tests and precise observations and a clever analysis. So probably this is what is being talked about as modern scientific method. We do not know. This sentence is independent. This sentence has no prior reference, but there is some context that can go before this, right? So let's check the third sentence as well. The greatest of all inventions is the Uber invention. Uber, again superior, the biggest invention that has provided the insights on which others depend. And there is a colon. That means this is explaining what is that Uber invention, the modern scientific method, right? So when we compare sentence 3 to sentence 2, this is defining this particular modern scientific method which has been introduced as the Uber discovery in sentence 3. So we have made this Uber invention, we have discovered the modern scientific method, and the modern scientific method is being described or defined in sentence 2. So that means asking probing questions through controlled tests, observations and analysis, that is the modern scientific method. So 3 and 2, this is a link. 2 will follow 3, it cannot precede 3. Fourth cannot be your opening sentence because this has a pointer. This invention is inconceivable. So we have talked about certain invention before this. So this has to be your opening sentence. We have established third one as the opening sentence. 3 and 2 is the link we have already established here. So 3, 2 is the link. After 3, 2, we cannot go to 4 because we have not mentioned any particular invention in these two sentences. So after 3 and 2, we have to go to 1 because 1 talks about this invention. This is an invention which can end the energy crisis. And what is the invention? Commercial fusion power. So this sentence may sound little bit abrupt, but then that will make sense if we apply the fourth sentence to it. The fourth sentence is, this invention is inconceivable without the scientific method. So it's not just plain simple theorizing or hypothesizing. You have to ask questions, you have to gain scientific insights. So this is a continuation of application of the modern scientific method. So this is how it goes. After 3, we've got 2. Then we introduce the invention in 1, and then we follow it up in 4. So this is your answer for the question. 3, 2, 1, 4. Let's move on to the next variety that was there in the VA section, that is the odd one out question. So the odd one out question, as we all know, is just a variation of the parajumble question. So let's discuss the 2 odd one out questions that were asked in the exam. Let's read the instructions for this question. The question says there are 5 jumbled up sentences related to a topic. 4 of them can be put together to form a coherent paragraph, and you have to identify the odd one out. So our odd one out is that statement that the thought fall in line with the argument. So let's understand which 4 sentences can be used to form a coherent paragraph out of these given sentences. So the one that doesn't fit in will be your answer. The first sentence reads, the care with which philosophers examine arguments for and against forms of biotechnology makes this an excellent primer on formulating and assessing moral arguments. So this sentence simply says that philosophers are very meticulous in examining arguments, right? So they don't shy away from examining arguments, and they see the both sides of the argument. So what is in favor and what is against any moral argument that is being dissected. Okay. Second one says, although most people find at least some forms of genetic engineering disquieting, something that makes you uneasy, something that makes you uncomfortable. So people do find some form of genetic engineering which they are not very comfortable with. Though this is the case, still it is not easy to articulate why. So they have some kind of problem, some kind of discomfort that they feel for the idea, but they are not able to express why the idea is discomforting to them or what is wrong with re-engineering our nature. Third one says, breakthroughs in genetics. So when we make advances in this field, there are 2 possibilities, right? We are presented with the promise, so this gives it a positive tone. We are presented with the promise that we will soon be able to prevent a host of debilitating diseases, and also a very confusing, very difficult situation, very confining situation, that our newfound genetic knowledge may enable us to enhance our genetic traits. Now this is a confusing situation. This is a difficult situation. The enhancement of our genetic traits is a difficult situation, whereas the promise where we can control the debilitating diseases, this is a positive situation. When we read the other sentences, we realize that we are talking about a dilemma, right? A dilemma that exists in relation to whether it is ethical to enhance our genetic traits or not. There are people who find it disquieting or uncomfortable. So that's why we will have to start with this sentence, because this also talks about the positive side and then takes us to the the negative idea, that is the dilemma, whether we have to do it or not, whether it's ethically correct or not. So you have to start with third one. So third one introduces the dilemma. Then 2 and 5, that is a link. Although most people find at least some forms of genetic engineering disquieting, they are not able to express why. One argument of one reason for this dilemma is that the drive for human perfection through genetics is objectionable. Objectionable because it does not appreciate the gifts of human powers and achievements, because you are playing with your genes and you're achieving mastery, and the human achievement is then not acknowledged or not appreciated. This is one argument. So second and fifth, they become a link. Since people are not able to express why they are discomfited, that's why this is author's opinion. Author says that one argument can be this, one possibility can be this. So 2 and 5 is the link. 3 is the opening for all of this discussion to happen. And then 4th also goes along the same line, which says if we want to solve this problem, if we want to solve this puzzle of which involves the ethics of enhancement, then we need to confront some questions that verge on theology. And because theology gets involved, religious discussions get involved. That's why philosophers and political theorists, they become uncomfortable and they tend to shrink from them. They shy away from them. They avoid asking these questions. These discussions never happen. And that's why these moral arguments are never created. Alright. So the entire passage says that though there are problems with the application of genetics in enhancement of a genetic traits, people do not express those reservations very clearly, and even philosophers and political theorists do not discuss those issues because they verge on theology. So this is going in a negative direction, whereas the first one is a very positive statement that says that the philosophers have lots of involvement and they take lots of care in examining the argument. So the general idea of the passage is people are uncomfortable and they don't ask questions, whereas this says that the philosophers are examining the issue. This is contradicting the entire theme of the passage or the discussion of the passage. So that's why this one becomes your odd one out. So answer to this question is the first statement. Let's move on to the second one. When we scan the passage, we try to find a common theme which is being used in the passage. So while scanning the passage, we can see that this is about a new field of marketing, that is neuromarketing. So the entire passage is about how neuromarketing has become a trend. Everybody is talking about it in the marketing field. So this can probably be the opening of the passage, right? Because this introduces the idea. This introduces the field, the new field for the first time, and kind of defines it. So the new growing field of neuromarketing attempts to reveal the inner workings of consumer behavior. So this is what neuromarketing is. It talks about the inner workings of consumer behavior and how the choices are made. Now, rest of the statements talk about how people have become very, very sensitive to this idea, very welcoming to this idea, right? So this particular connection we will find in 1. So after 3, we will have to go to 1. It has taken on a warm fuzzy glow. So it will refer to the field of neuromarketing. It has taken a warm fuzzy glow. So everybody is talking about its potential and it is being claimed as undeniable wave of the future. So we are still talking about the new field or the growing field of neuromarketing and how it is being seen as something which has lots of worth in the future. Some see neuromarketing as an attempt to make the art, right? So this again is related to neuromarketing. A new idea is now being introduced, and it says that all the hype, all the glow that is being associated with the neuromarketing in the advertising world is being seen as an attempt to transform it into a science. Why? Because the marketing people are now backing up whatever they say with the real data. So now there is a quest, there is an attempt to transform this as something which is more scientific, which is more data based. Okay. Now we are left with 2 sentences, second one and fifth one. Now this is talking about something different. This says the marketing gurus have already started drawing in psychology. So they are not just projecting it as a science, they are also drawing from psychology and probably from social scientists. So this is not taking it to a different idea. Okay, whereas when you go to the second statement, there is little enthusiasm. Little is hardly any. Little has a negative connotation. So there is little enthusiasm for this. For what? For accepting neuromarketing as scientific. Though marketing people are very keen on doing it, The scientists or people who are associated with sciences, they have no enthusiasm for this, right? They are not interested. They are not very keen on this idea. For them, marketing is not a science, and only a handful of studies have been published in scientific journal. So though this is contradicting, this is giving you the opposite view to the view that is held by the marketing people and the advertising people, but it goes in the same vein. That means it talks about the same idea, whereas this is broadening it into another discussion, that they've already started drawing things from psychology and sociology. So this is something that will fall out of line of the argument, right? So this is something that cannot be accommodated in your parajumble. This kinds of completes it, right? So what will be the arrangement for the rest of the 4 sentences? 3 1 4 2. 3 1 4 2 will be your arrangement, and 5 will be your odd one out statement. Okay, so after we've finished the discussion of the odd one out questions, let's move on to the third variety of questions that were asked in the VA section, that is the essence of the passage. So let us begin with reading the instructions for these questions. The passage given below is followed by 4 alternate summaries. Choose the option that best captures the essence of the passage. The essence of the passage is the main prominent opinion that is given in the passage. Okay, so let's understand the passage. What does the passage say? There are 2 set of scientists. One are the biologists, one are the physicists, right? Biologists, they publish their research directly to the web, and if this happens, then they are labeled as rogue. Rogue means unprincipled. So they are being judged. But physicists have been routinely publishing research digitally prior to submitting in a peer-reviewed journal. So when any scientist publishes their research digitally, okay, they are called preprints. So the preprints are very normal or routine practice for physicists, but they are not that easily received, that well received when biologists do that, and they are judged for doing that, right? There are supporters of these preprints who maintain that this helps in dissemination of research, and it is much faster if the preprints are published. But some journals are still conservative and they don't accept research previously published as preprint. Even if the idea of preprints is gaining ground, one of the biggest barriers for biologists is how they would be viewed. So biologists are not able to do that. Despite this entire practice having some positives, the biologists are not able to use it because their research community is conservative, right? So unlike the physicists, the community for biologists is more conservative. Okay, so this is the passage given. There is a very clear comparison between biologists and physicists and the practices that are allowed for them or which are critically judged for them. So first option, let's see the first option. One of the advantages of digital preprints of research is they hasten the dissemination process, but these are not accepted by most scientific communities. So this is not presenting the dilemma that is faced by the biologists, right? This is generalizing the situation. The situation is not same for all the group of scientists, all the communities of scientists. It is specifically difficult for the biologists, right? So when the option says it is not accepted by most scientific communities, it contradicts this part of the passage which says that physicists are regularly doing it. Okay, so this is not a correct option according to the passage. Second one says preprints of research are frowned on by some scientific fields, alright, as they do not undergo a rigorous reviewing process but are accepted among biologists, right? So in the entire passage it is being said that the biologists are not a very liberal community in this regard and they have very conservative opinion on these preprints, whereas this option says that they are accepted among biologists. So this option becomes contradictory to what is being said in the passage. So this option is also eliminated. Now we are left with third one and fourth one. Let's check third one. Compared to biologists, Physicists are less conservative in their acceptance of digital pre-publication of research papers, which allows for faster dissemination of knowledge. So this sounds to be okay. This has no distortion. This also includes the comparison which is inherent in the passage. So this seems to be a sound option. Let's check fourth one as well. While digital publication of research is gaining popularity in many scientific disciplines, almost all peer-reviewed journals are reluctant. Whereas the passage says that there are some, right? Some journals still don't accept research. Many do. So when you say almost all peer-reviewed journals are reluctant, we do not know. This information doesn't come from the passage. This is not the essence of the passage. The essence of the passage is the comparison. So while physicists are not being judged, they are not being labeled as rogue, and that's why they can take advantage of this particular practice. Biologists do not have that amenity available to them, right? Because of the conservative community that they belong to. So third one is the option that captures the essence of this passage. So that's why third one is your answer for this question. Let's move on to the next one. Let's understand the passage given for this question. The passage says creativity is now viewed as the engine of economic progress. Various organizations are devoted to its study and promotion. There are encyclopedias and handbooks surveying creativity research. So these three sentences together give you an idea that there are lots of organizations that are putting in lots of effort and investing lots of time and energy to the study and promotion of creativity, right? So there are encyclopedias being written, there are handbooks being written, right? So there is lots of research going on, and this research, because of this proliferation of research, this success in studying creativity, this has tended to erode creativity's stable identity. How? After the colon, it is explained how creativity's stable identity is being eroded. It has become so invested, this industry that has proliferated, it has become so invested with value. So we are obsessed with the idea of the role of creativity or the value of creativity, and that obsession has made it impossible to police its meaning. Police its meaning means regulate its meaning. So where does creativity start as a word, as a concept, and where does it end? That is not being regulated. So there are multiple interpretations for the word, and the practices that supposedly identify and encourage it. So our focus has been removed from the practices that would be conducive in encouraging creativity. We are so obsessed with the value that creativity has. So this in the long run has proven to be something that is hampering the real creativity, right? This obsession that we've developed, that has hampered the process of real creativity. Okay, so this is the entire idea. This is the passage that is given for the question. Now we need to find the essence of the passage. So essence of the passage, the main opinion. So there are basically three things being said. Let's reiterate. There are three things being said in this passage. The first one is there is an entire industry that has proliferated, which is focusing on studying creativity. In this process, in this entire proliferation, we've lost track of those practices that actually encourage creativity, and that in turn has hampered the development of real creativity. These are the 3 points given in the passage. So let's now compare the options. First one, the industry that has built up, right? What is the subject of this sentence? The industry. So the industry that has built up around researching what comprises and encourages creativity has destroyed the creative process itself. So see, this is a very subtle distortion in this option. It's not the industry that has destroyed the creative process itself. The industry could have been productive as well, right? The industry could have promoted creativity as well, but it's the obsession with the value. The industry is misdirected, probably. The industry is not focusing on encouraging creativity. It has just become obsessed with the idea of creativity, and that obsession is destroying the creative process itself. So this is just falling short of the correct option, right? So this can be eliminated. Let's see the second option. Creativity has proliferated to the extent that it no longer a stable process, and its mutating identity has stifled the creative process. So this makes no sense. There is no mutating identity. This is not the cause for creative process being stifled, right? So this is something that is very vague. So this option can be eliminated. Now let's compare third one and fourth one. The value assigned to creativity. So this is the subject that we want, right? This has assumed such proportions. So this is what is being said in the passage, that the concept itself has lost its real meaning. This is this line, right? And this is hampering the engendering of real creativity. So this goes with the passage, right? I have no objections against this particular option. This has no distortions. But let's also check a statement 4 or option 4. The obsession with original thought, how it can be promoted and researched, has made it impossible for people and organizations to define the concept anymore. This is just inverted. The obsession is with defining the concept, right? Not with how it can be promoted and encouraged, and that misplaced value has made it impossible for people and organizations to actually be creative, right? So this option has lots of distortion, so this cannot be selected. Out of elimination, what is left is the third option, and third option we have already assessed as being logically correct from the passage. So this can be marked as the essence of the passage. So this is your answer for question number 20. Let's move on to the last one. So let us understand what is given in the passage. The passage says, the unlikely alliance of the incumbent industrialist, the existing one, right, the current one. So the unlikely alliance of the incumbent industrialist and the distressed unemployed worker. Why is it being called unlikely? Because usually an industrialist and an unemployed worker would not share common interests, but because of the downturn, right, this an unlikely alliance has come up between the industrialist and the unemployed worker. Now the opinion is that this alliance is powerful. Okay, this is the opinion. They have made a powerful alliance in the amidst the debris of corporate bankruptcies and layoffs. So there is an economic downturn, and because of that economic downturn there are lots of bankruptcies and layoffs. So the economic scene doesn't look good, very bright, and in this backdrop these two people have made a powerful alliance, right? Now how this alliance operates, that is being explained in the rest of the passage. So the passage says, in an economic downturn, the capitalist is more likely to focus on costs of the competition emanating from free markets than on the opportunities they create, right? So otherwise, the capitalist would focus on grabbing the opportunities that arise out of free markets, but since it is an economic downturn, they are more worried about minimizing the costs of the competition, right? So there is an economic interest that is involved. They would want to manipulate this cost. For that, the opportunity comes through this alliance that they can have with these unemployed distressed workers, right? So on the other hand, the unemployed worker will find many others in a similar condition. These people will have anxiety similar to him, and that's why they organize together and form an organization, a political organization. So this political organization is formed purely because there are people who are equally distressed and have similar anxieties in a situation where economy is not going very strong. Now, this organization that is formed is seen as an opportunistic situation by the industrialists, and since they want to manipulate a few things in order to minimize their cost. They capture this political agenda, right, so that they can have a say in deciding the policies or conditioning the policies or whatever. This is what the passage says, right? So there are 2-3 main points. There is an economic downturn. When there is an economic downturn, the cost becomes very important for the industrialists. On the other hand, the unemployed workers come together because of their similar anxieties and they organize together. When they have a political agenda, this agenda is captured by the industrialists so that they can have a say in deciding or in minimizing their cost. So there are economic interests involved. Let's see the options. An unlikely alliance of the industrialists and the unemployed happens during an economic downturn in which they come together to unite politically and capture the political agenda. Right? Now look, see, there is a distortion here. They come together to unite politically and capture the political agenda. It's not they together capturing the political agenda. The unemployed workers are uniting politically, and whatever is their agenda is being captured and exploited by the industrialists. So there is a distortion in this option. This can be eliminated. Let's see the second one. In an economic downturn, the capitalists use the anxieties. Yes, their anxieties are being used, are being exploited. That's why we say that they've captured their political agenda. Right? So the capitalists use the anxieties of the unemployed and their political organization to set the political agenda to suit their economic interest. This sounds to be correct. This has no distortion. This very efficiently captures the main idea of the passage. But let's also check the other two options. An economic downturn creates competition because of which the capitalist captures. ये तो पूरा ही distorted हो गया, right? There is no, there is no logical structure that copies the logical structure of the passage. So it's not the downturn that is creating the competition. The competition is always created by the free market. But when there is an economic downturn, then the focus of the capitalist changes, shifts from the opportunities to the costs involved, right? That is what the passage is saying. So there is a distortion in this option. This can be eliminated. Fourth one, the purpose of an unlikely alliance between the industrialists and the unemployed during an economic downturn is to stifle competition. This is totally not given in the passage. So this is something which is way beyond the scope of the passage. So this is eliminated. Out of elimination, what is left is option number 2. So option number 2 is correct as far as the capturing of the essence is concerned, and it is also very precise. So this will be your answer to this question.